Sargon of Akkad responded to my Carl Benjamin has officially lost his mind video, which was talking about the fact that Sargon of Akkad made the absurd claim that the Democratic Party of the United States has become the Socialist Party, which is a utterly insane claim. But let's look at some of the things that Sargon stated.
I love it. I love it. And this is exactly why I did it. Someone was hyperbolic on the internet. Yes, okay, maybe. But I did link a video that explained my position rather clearly, which you watched and you will refer to multiple times, of course. But what's interesting to me is you think that this isn't a prediction of the future.
Right off the bat, he basically is admitting right in the beginning of the video that what he said was wrong. Because he didn't say, I'm predicting the Democratic Party will become the Socialist Party in 10 years down the line. He didn't say the Democratic Party will become the Socialist Party of America. That's not what he said. He said the Democratic Party has become, I repeat, become the Socialist Party of America. So what that means is you made the claim that as of right now, the Democratic Party has transformed itself into the Socialist Party, which is outright false. So you've already corrected what you said right in the beginning of the video.
I can't see how you think the corporate Democrats will last the next 10 years in the Democratic Party. Not only is the Hillary Clinton wing of the Democratic Party, which is what you're talking about, utterly failed, complete catastrophe. Donald Trump became the president, but they've lost the argument. I mean, their argument is never from principle, it's always out of pragmatism. Because, honestly, they don't have any principles. They can only argue for pragmatism and lining their own wallets.
Yes, the Hillary wing did fail. However, that doesn't mean that they're just disappeared and they're gone. The Hillary wing is completely outright, especially when you're talking about, the way that, are they really going to go away? The answer is probably no. Because you're talking about, especially mainstream media, you have all these mainstream media pundits, whether it be Joyanne Reid and all these people, and then you look at Twitter and there's all these, Hillary Hill bots and all these other Hillary supporters. They haven't disappeared. I hope they will, so that we can move towards social democracy and move towards Bernie policies. I hope so, but as of right now, and will they disappear later on? Honestly, I doubt it.
That's going to leave the progressive millennial insurgents to take over the party ideologically. And this is absolutely happening with the way that everyone's peacocking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's absolutely a socialist, isn't she?
Again, Ocasio-Cortez is not a democratic socialist. Ever since Bernie Sanders misused the term, they've become interchangeable. And so she joined the Democratic Socialist of America because she thought that democratic socialism was social democracy. That's the reason why she joined. Those people don't really know what, their main thing is. They just join because they think, that they're going on with the movement that happened. But really, they are actual democratic socialists. But there's no denying, again, two things. One, democratic socialism and social democracy are being used interchangeably now. There's no denying that. Number two, as you've admitted, again, that Bernie Sanders is a social democrat, not a democratic socialist. So the reason why she joined was because of movement of social democracy. That's the reason why. It's just that they don't, she basically went in without really knowing about that they're actual democratic socialists. She literally called for small business tax cuts. So I don't understand, how can you be a socialist if you're advocating for, positives and giving more to business owners, to private business owners? How could you be advocating for benefiting private business owners and being someone who wants workers to own the means of production? Could you please explain that to me? It's because she's not a democratic socialist, she's a social democrat.
She won't compromise on these principles, but she will do deals to get to the end result, which is where her principles lie. It's not a surprise that her manifesto, her platform, isn't seize the means of production, comrades, but it is definitely stepping in that direction, isn't it? And she is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, so what direction would you think she's going in? If I were a member of the British National Party, and my platform didn't look overtly fascist, but I said I'm not going to compromise on my fascist principles, Do you think it would be okay to call me a fascist? And then when I joined a political party, say UKIP, and I was welcomed in with open arms, and all of me and my activists were suddenly riling up the party and getting loads of media attention, suddenly winning elections, would you not think that fascism was taking over UKIP? I mean, you probably do anyway. Because no, that's not true. Actually, you probably don't think that. That's unfair. Sorry.
I don't understand why Sargon uses this quote like this, because he took it from this Vice interview, and what she was saying is, I'm never going to compromise my values of wanting a Medicare for all system, making college education free, all these living wage. She's not going to compromise those, but if she has to make compromises to improve the current system, so hey, we can't get Medicare for all because obviously we have a plague and like an autoimmune disorder of money and politics, then, I'll have to compromise in the middle somewhere, and some people are going to even disagree with that too. So again, I don't know where you got, she even mentions it in there. She says, if we have to improve our system, then I'll do it. I don't know what you're talking about. How does that mean that she's, hiding her democratic socialist principles? He has this really weird conspiracy theory that she's hiding her democratic socialism, deep down inside. She doesn't want anyone to know. And it's kind of fucking weird.
Absolutely say that fascism is taking over UKIP, because that's what would be happening. And socialism is taking over your party. I don't know why you're opposed to it. I don't see why you think that's a bad thing, because you're probably a socialist if you get right down to it, aren't you? I mean, you probably want equality of outcome, don't you?
Yeah, no, I never supported equality of outcome, and it's an insane claim that you're making that I would support that, and I'm not a socialist either. So I don't understand why you would make that claim, and I find it very disingenuous that you would even think that. No, social democracy is taking over the party. Bernie-crats are taking over the party. It's not being taken over by people who want to redistribute wealth, or the people who want to, have workers owning the means of production. People who are in the Democratic Party who are left, is moving towards a social democracy standpoint, not a standpoint of, we need to overthrow the capitalist system.
Why would I need to lie? She's so unbelievably open about her socialist affiliation. I mean, she is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. How on earth would I turn around and say that she's not a socialist? How can you turn around and say that she's not a socialist? All you can do is point to her platform and say, well, this isn't full socialism. And that's, oh, no, she's not a real socialist. She's not socialist enough to be a socialist. Come on, man. Come on, you can do better than this.
Again, a lot of people joined the DSA because of Bernie Sanders' usage of the term democratic socialism. That's the reason why. The two words have been used interchangeably now. She's not a socialist because she's quite literally never advocated for the workers owning the means of production. Again, let me repeat. She literally came out in support of small business tax cuts. So she's trying to help private businesses. What kind of a socialist? Someone who would want, a democratic socialist who wants, workers to own the means of production. Why would they want to benefit private business? Could you please explain that to me?
Wow. So socialism is a smear. I wonder why. Why on earth would people consider socialism to be a smear? I just can't imagine. But the thing is, she's a member of the fucking Democratic Socialist Party. Oh, sorry, not party, alliance. Sorry. It's not a party, it's a movement of socialists. So I don't think she considers being called a socialist a smear. Or she wouldn't have joined a group called the Democratic Socialists. I mean, I guess I'm way too credulous. I take people at their word. When they say, yes, I'm a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, I think, well, that person's a socialist then.
She's never advocated for the abolishing of capitalism, and she joined the DSA because of Bernie Sanders' use of the term democratic socialism, which is now interchangeable with social democracy.
Aren't they almost all on board with abolishing ICE now? Isn't Bernie not democratic and lefty enough for the activists in the Democratic Party?
Abolishing ICE is not abolishing borders, okay? Those are two completely separate things. Okay, ICE was created in 2003 under the Bush administration after 9/11, okay? So what you're talking about is you're not abolishing borders. the U.S. agency that deals with protecting the borders is Border Patrol. So how on earth is getting rid of ICE getting rid of borders? Getting rid of ICE and getting rid of borders are not the same thing, not even close to the same thing. They're totally different. So that's just outright false, and you're just lying. But I think that you just don't know. You just don't know what abolishing ICE means.
What you're going to do is you're going to point to the old guard of the party, people who are in the 70s and 80s, who in 10 years' time won't even be alive, let alone be in office. And you're going to say to me, well, these people aren't socialists, and I agree with you. Those people are not socialists. They're what we call neoliberals, and they're looking for an out. They're looking for any way of gaining power so they can line their own pockets. Totally agree with you on that one. But the people coming after them very much are.
Yeah, totally. As if all of the corporate Democrats in Congress are 1,000 years old. Kamala Harris isn't 1,000 years old. She's not 70 or 80. Cory Booker's not 70 or 80. I mean, all these Kirsten Gillibrand, they're not 70 or 80. What are you talking about? It's not just the olds. It's not just the oldies. Not just Dianne Feinstein. It's all these people. Cory Booker, Kamala Harris. These people are not old as fuck. They're not 70. They're not 80. They're not going to be dead in 10 years. I don't know what you're talking about. These people are corporate Democrats who aren't that old. So I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, it's not just Nancy Pelosi. It's virtually the entire Democratic Party, spare Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren.
10 years' time, I promise you, they're going to be an openly socialist party, unless
Yeah, this is absolutely insane, and no, that's never gonna fucking happen.
I'm just looking a little bit further down the road than you are. I mean, imagine we're walking down a road, and you're looking at the ground, and I say, we're at an intersection, and you're just looking at a straight piece of ground, and you're like, you're insane. There is no intersection right here. This point of land that we're on is not an intersection. But I point 10 meters down the road and say, yeah, but there's an intersection there. You go, well, that's not where we are, is it? Despite the fact that we're walking towards the intersection, we are right now on a straight piece of road, and as far as I'm concerned, for the foreseeable future, we will be on a straight piece of road until the end of time.
Again, I want to repeat, Sargon, you stated that the Democratic Party has become the Socialist Party of America. You didn't say, I predict that they're going to become the Democratic Socialist Party of America 10 years down the line. You didn't say that. You said now. So your own claim is false. It's wrong.
Something dramatic happens. And I don't think something dramatic is going to change within the left in the next 10 years. I don't think the left is going to admit its faults. I don't think it's going to admit its failures. I think it's just going to keep going to the left because that's what seems to be happening. I mean,
yeah, the party will move further left. It needs to move further left. It needs to move towards social democracy, not towards democratic socialism. Ocasio-Cortez, she's not a socialist.
Yes, she is. Yes, she absolutely is, which is why she's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America.
Again, she's not a socialist. She joined the DSA because the terms democratic socialist and social democrat are not used interchangeably.
Which is why the person, she knows exactly what she's saying when she says that. Which is why the chap from Vice who interviewed her didn't say, are you a socialist? Assuming that she was a Democrat of some kind. He said, are you a Democrat? Assuming she was a socialist and wondering whether she was the kind of socialist who opposed democracy and was going to end up in tyranny. Spoiler alert, you are going to end up in tyranny if you get on the road of socialism, just so you know.
This is a really fucking weird one because he thinks that when the guy asks her if she's a Democrat, it's whether or not she believes in democracy. What the fuck are you talking about? What he was asking was about party affiliation. Because obviously there's been a huge movement to go third party among Bernie supporters, and people have been revolting against the Democratic Party. So he's asking, are you a Democrat? And she says, yes. So, and it's very clear in the questioning too, because that's what she talks about, is the party. And I don't understand that. What, it doesn't make any sense. You're just lying. It's not even taken out of context. You're just willfully misrepresenting what is going on.
She's an idiot too, then, isn't she? Then she's opening the door to people who are actually nefarious. People who are actually going to turn your country into a new Venezuela or a new Cuba. It's your choice if you want to open the door to these people, but you'll notice that I don't go around using fascist iconography because I don't want fascist entryism into my classically liberal political space.
Well, word meanings do change, and democratic socialism and social democracy are now being used interchangeably. I've honestly done my best to prevent this from happening because I think that muddling the waters is not a good idea, nor do I think the misusage of terms is a good idea. But we've seen this kind of a thing happen quite a bit in history. So, whether it be libertarianism originally being a left-wing thing and then turning into, in America, libertarianism is right-wing. All of this different stuff, it's too late. It's too late. I've done my best. If it were up to me, I would have them separate, but there's no choice. But you then coming out of her saying she's a democratic socialist when clearly she's a social democrat and saying that she is one, when you give that, card to Bernie Sanders, I don't understand it.
Not true. We don't have free college here. We have to get a student loan here. And you know what? More people than ever are going to university in this country. So a student loan is actually a way to get people into universities without actually costing the taxpayer unbelievable amounts of money. Not that I don't pay unbelievable amounts of money as the taxpayer anyway, but you know what I mean.
All right, you guys may not have free college, but I'll name you off some countries that do. Germany, France, Sweden, Finland, Norway, and Slovenia. Yes, both Germany and France have free college education or virtually free college education, while the United States has insane costs for going to school.
Well, I mean, honestly, I guess the way that you should look at it is the way I look at it now, because I actually had this conundrum myself. I like the idea of having a universal healthcare in my country. I also like the idea of not having open borders, and so we have the two, and now they're coming to conflict, and you wouldn't believe the amount of money that every year the Conservative Party have to pledge to the National Health Service. It's actually ridiculous. But I don't want to get rid of the NHS. I want to close the borders to preserve the NHS. But then, if you would say, would you like the European Union to run your universal healthcare system? I would be probably up in arms about it. I'd be like, no, that's going to be a catastrophe. It's going to cost billions. It's going to be ruined. It's going to come down in tears. Now ask yourself, do you think the federal government of your country is good at running nationwide programs? Should there be a state's requirement for healthcare? Maybe. Maybe your states should be the experimental melting pots that they were, and each state that wants universal healthcare can have it, but only for residents of that state. How about that? That'd be a good start, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that mean that the places that actually wanted to have taxpayer-funded healthcare could have it? I mean, I'm not an expert on your healthcare system. Maybe there are lots of reasons why that couldn't happen.
I don't agree with open borders, and neither does Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But what you don't understand here, Sargon, is that the United States is not proposing a national health service like you guys have. They're not proposing an NHS. As I always say when I say every other modern nation has a form of universal healthcare, one form or another, it's because there are multiple forms of universal healthcare. You have Medicare for all, and you have the UK system. There's a Canadian system and the UK system. The system that Bernie Sanders wants is a Medicare for all. A Medicare for all gives everyone an insurance card. So there is no NHS. So there is no problem. Just you need everyone in the country to have insurance, so you give everyone a Medicare card. And what's so scary about that? Oh, what? What the fuck are you talking about?
How is that not socialist? Do socialists not want that? I mean, I'm not saying it's only socialist, but socialists also want these things.
Socialism is the workers owning the means of production. And while, yes, what you're talking about, those are socialized programs, but what I was talking about is she's not a socialist. She's just supporting socialized programs, because if you're a socialist, it means you support the workers owning the means of production, which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez does not.